Brother, Emu is moving at a breakneck pace. He's changing the game. You know how people say, oh, this changes everything? Emu kind of does. I think it's pretty well warranted for what they do this chapter. But hey, welcome in first, guys. We got One Piece chapter 1150. The extra spoilers have dropped. If you have not read them for yourself, though, yet, I will be writing it out in the pinned comment down below, as well as linking over to the source as to where I got them. So, with that being said, the first thing we have to talk about with these spoilers is Yamato's cover page journey. It's finally over. Yamato has finally made it to Yasui's grave with Ulti in page 1. She's finally returned his blade to his shrine, and now, hopefully, we move on to the next big plot point. I don't think we're done with Yamato's journey, by the way. I think it will continue onwards, but at least now we can move on to more exciting events, like maybe Big Mom and Kaido's fate reveal, maybe people attacking Wano for the poneglyph, maybe people attacking Wano for the ancient weapon. There's so many things that could make Yamato's cover page journey exciting. I just want something big to happen here, man. You know, Yamato, brother, one of my favorite characters being marred by a slow journey. So anyways, on to the chapter now. In the first double page spread of the chapter, we see Gunko-Emu, Muko is what I call them. We see Muko transform. According to the leakers, they get two huge black leathery wings like bats. They get an arrow-shaped tail, kind of like a devil tail if you've ever seen one of those, or like an imp tail. And Emu's weapon of choice is a giant trident, larger than Gunko's body. Bro, he's the devil. Like, I mean, literally, he is just a depiction of the devil. We got that here in One Piece, which I love that we did. And also, this kind of brings back the whole thing at the Reverie, where Sabo and Cobra got stabbed by an arrow thing. And we were like, okay, was that Gunko's arrow? Was that Emu's tail? Now we know. It's simply Emu's tail. Emu has an arrow-shaped tail. Pretty insane, right? How they both share that similarity. I wonder if that's one of the caveats to become Emu's vessel. To become Emu's vessel, you need the arrow no mi so you can have his arrow tail. Maybe not. Maybe that's just a coincidence. But either way, Emu transforms and he immediately turns his attention to his boys, the God Knights. He orders Sommers to now lead the children to the ship. It looks like Emu came in here and he automatically knows what's happening. So he's like, hey, Sommers, you take the kids to the ship. You continue walking the hostages, and Killingham, you there. Is this the best your nightmare monsters can do? And Killingham says, no, of course not, boss. I have a couple of nightmare holes that I've left open. And apparently he says that the monsters, the nightmares, will continue to be generated from the nightmares of the entire island. These are creatures of dreams and have no real concept of death. And they can all be revived whenever he wants. It's an endless supply of fodder, bro. That's insane. I mean, we kind of already expected that, right? Because he was summoning multiple, like, ghosts, multiple Draugrs, multiple Nidhogg's. So we kind of had a feeling that he could do this already, but he just doubly confirmed it here. And it just kind of shows that not a single God Knight is being left to the wayside. They're all important in their own way, and we have to beat all of them if we want to free Elbaph, right? You know, if you beat Sommers, boom, the nightmares are still spawning. You beat Killingham, boom, the kids are still going to the ship. So yeah, I love that Oda is making them all take on important roles, so to say. So next thing we see is that Dory and Brogy have arrived to fight Emu. I can't believe it, actually, you know? When you really say it out loud, it feels a little bit absurd. Like, you know, forget Sabo at the Reverie because he kind of just did an AoE blast and he ran away. But Dory and Brogy are the first characters actively going against the final villain. So Brogy comes in and he's about to attack, but that is when Emu whips out some black clover magic. He takes out a magical book and conjures a dagger and a giant shotgun. Emu blasts Brogy's wrist off, like literally blasts it off. Like apparently we see Brogy's wrist get separated from his arm. It's pretty insane. And right after that, Gunko-Emu, Muko, uses an ability called Devil's Contract. We talked about this the other day. And this contract supposedly gives Brogy the, quote, power of evil. And we see Brogy is swallowed into the floor, and then he reemerges surrounded by flames in his new demon form. Bro, what? This kind of sounds like Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi, where he uses a dark hole and everything gets swallowed into the floor. It's like that, but on crack, right? So yes, Brogy is now a villain. The leakers say he is 4 to 6 times larger. He has 2 wings, just like Emu, large fangs, black horns, and get this, but even his weapon changed. Not just Brogy, his weapon changed. He now has a double-edged axe. And remember how I said that Emu blasted off Brogy's wrist? Brother, he can still use his arm even without the wrist. The guy's like Rayman. And for me at least, that isn't even the craziest part. What's crazy to me is the fact that Brogy is still conscious. He can still talk and hold the conversation because he laughs exactly the same way as he previously did. He says, "Ga ba 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 ba." This sensation, I feel like I can do anything now. In a way, it's like he's been liberated. The reason I'm so hung up on this is because that means that Emu's army, his demon army, they're not mindless fodder. They're not slaves or zombies. They're still them to an extent. And I'm excited to see what the dialogue's going to be between Dory, Brogy, Hard, and Loki, and even Usopp or Luffy, right? Like, what are they going to say? Like, hey, you should join our side. You know, like, the powers are really cool, man. You're going to get stronger. Like, I don't know, brother. I really do like this. I love it a lot. And after Brogy gets turned into this demon by Emu, Emu goes on to change Dory and some of the giant warriors too. He uses another attack called Domi Reversi, which is the title of the chapter. And this ability is seemingly an AoE version of Devil's Contract, because Devil's Contract just was like a one-on-one thing with Emu and Brogy, but Domi Reversi is like hitting everybody. So Dory, as well as the giant warrior pirates behind him, all just get turned into the same type of monster or creature or devil that Brogy already is. They all get the wings, they all get the tridents, but Dory's trident is a little bit different. Apparently, like, it's a normal trident, but in the middle, like the middle prong, it's actually his sword. So it kind of gets merged there. And yeah, this is what Elbaph has turned into, you know? We got the giants as the main villains. And this isn't even like an ass pull, you know? Like, Oda apparently has been foreshadowing this for a while now. And I saw this over on Twitter. This isn't me realizing this myself, you know, but at the beginning of Elbaph, when Luffy was sailing with Dory and Brogy and the giant warrior pirates, Luffy had a really odd line. So odd that I think we talked about it here in this channel as well, but I never really pieced it together. But Luffy said, hey, even if you guys were my enemies, I'll still become the Pirate King. And at the time, I thought that was really odd because I'm like, wait, Dory and Brogy love you. You know, you're the sun god. Why would they be your enemies? Why would you even suggest that? But here we have it. It was foreshadowing that they literally would be Luffy's enemies. And we do know that Oda foreshadowed Road coming back because he had a cover page story and it said, oh, I will return. And then Road was our introduction to Elbaph. So that was foreshadowed. But get this. Apparently, Dory and Brogy were foreshadowed in their cover page story as well. Because back in like chapter 600-ish, they had one that said friend or foe. And here we have it. They were friends one minute, but now they're foes. So yeah, man, I'm all about this. I love what Oda is doing to the giants. I love that he's making them so freaking cool. You know, giants are just like big people. And I always thought that was kind of lame, right? Like, if you're going to make big people, make them different. Make them like oars even. And here we have it. They're getting bigger. They have the wings. They turn into demons. Oh yeah, this is the good timeline of One Piece right here, brother. So as far as matchups go, I think this is where it gets really interesting because beforehand, you know, like I said, I've been saying this for a while now, broken record, right? But we have just straight up outnumbered the villains here on the island. You know, ignore the Sleep Tid monsters that Killingham is spawning in, but we were just outnumbering the God Knights. But now that Emu is here and he's seemingly transforming allies into enemies, it's like, okay, now we're adding more villains, more big villains onto the table for the Straw Hats to eat up. And now I'm like, okay, Dory and Brogy are now villains. Who's going to fight them? Will it be Usopp? Will it be Luffy, Zoro, Sanji? I think it'd be cool if Zoro and Sanji teamed up against the giant duo. But maybe this is a task for even Loki and Hajruden, right? Because they're like the new generation of warrior pirates. They're the new giant warrior pirates. So them fighting the old giant warrior pirates would actually be pretty freaking awesome. But maybe that's just me. And it kind of goes back to what Jinbei said at the beginning of this arc, where he first learned that the Holy Knights were here. He said, oh, those are human-sized opponents. Humans should deal with them. So here we have it. We have giant-sized opponents. Maybe the giants deal with them, right? We got Ripley, we got Loki, Hajruden, and we even have Yarl, because we learn that in this chapter, Yarl wants the smoke. What? So, yeah, I'm kind of skipping around a little bit, but Yarl and the Giants of the Village are getting ready to fight the Dory and Brogy duo. Some of the Giants tell Yarl to leave, to run, to flee, because something bad is happening. But Yarl says, get this, Yarl is the cliffhanger to this week's chapter, because when people tell him to retreat, he says, you shouldn't say that to a proud warrior. Is Yarl gonna be that guy? Is Yarl gonna be freaking powerful? Brother, I don't know. You know, catch me before Egghead. Every time I looked at Dory and Brogy, I thought of Mr. 3 victims. And then after Egghead, I'm like, holy crap, they're super strong now. You know, and then going back to in his lobby in Water 7, brother, Oimo and Kashi, those giants, Frankie family victims. But look at them now, over here holding down Nasujuro and Egghead. So maybe Yarl is that guy. You know, maybe with great age comes great power. I'm not too sure. But yeah, man, this chapter is just nuts. And a lot of you guys in the comments have brought up a really good point, and I do want to gauge your guys' opinion on it. But since Imu can turn good people like Dory and Brogy, like altruistic people, into monsters and demons that serve under him, what's stopping Imu from doing this to the Straw Hats? What's stopping him from doing this to Hajruden, Loki? Like, we don't know. I think it would be really interesting, actually. Now that I think about it, I think it would be interesting if Hajruden got turned into a monster as well. Because Hajruden and Loki, they've had this brotherly spat going on for a while now. And, you know, maybe I partook in it, but a lot of people were also making fun of the fact that Hajruden is like this big compared to Loki, who's this big, right? So maybe Hajruden gets turned into a monster and they're finally the same size and they can finally fight each other on equal ground. Maybe that's it. But I don't know. And then the Straw Hats too. Like, what's stopping Imu from turning Frankie into a monster, Chopper into a monster, Usopp into a monster, Nami into a monster? Like, I don't think there's really a cap. Maybe there's like something you have to do to stop it. Maybe you just have to have strong hockey, and then Imu just whipping out straight black magic out of nowhere. Like, what is this? Is this the work of a devil fruit, or is this something else? I wouldn't be surprised if it is something else, simply because Imu is so old. Like, maybe back in their era, black magic was a common thing, and nowadays it's just devil fruits. Maybe that's it. But yeah, this brings a lot of things into perspective, man. This changes the game, literally. And since we see that Brogy is conscious and evil right now, I do wonder what other characters has Imu turned evil in the past, right? Were the Gorosei the same way? Maybe the Holy Knights? Maybe even the 20 Kingdoms that fought Joy Boy? Were they also just possessed and turned into demons by Imu, and that's why they're bad? This really does introduce a new layer into the story. But yeah, that's pretty much it, y'all. I mean, this is just an Imu hype fest right now. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, just thinking back to the last, like, 10 minutes of this video, I'm just like, dude, I'm just hyping up Imu. You know, this guy's crazy. But I'm all for it, brother. Like, this is final villain material. And also, I will say this. Since Imu can turn friends into enemies, I'm excited for that final war. Because now we're not too sure who's going to be on whose side anymore, right? At first, I was like, okay, it's the entire world versus Imu. That's still true. But here's the thing. Emu can turn some of the good guys into their army. You know, he can make them swap teams. So who's to say, like, what if there is a war and then Katakuri turns evil, right? What if Emu gets a hold of the Marines and Smoker turns bad or Kobe turns bad, right? Like, until we realize or learn how the Devil's Contract and Domi Reversi actually works, anything's on the table. Apparently anybody could just turn bad. But yeah, man, that is enough peak for today. Let me know what you guys thought about this down below. I am super excited to see what Emu, Dory, and Brogy look like in this chapter, brother. Like, dude, yeah. Oda, he took the Giants and he turned them into something freaking epic. But that's just my opinion. We'd love to hear your guys' opinions down below. Let me know your theories as well. In the next couple of days, we will be going through the comment section and turning it into a video. So if you want your comment read, make sure to comment it down below. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Stay safe till then. Sai, signing out. Also, no break next week. So we will be back sooner rather than later. Peace out, y'all.